Hi, and welcome to MOMENTOUS Live, episode 19. We are starting for the first time, for real this time. It's not like we've been talking for 20 minutes and forgetting to broadcast, because that would be a total rookie mistake. I don't know who would ever get away with doing that and still manage to keep their job.
You have a job? You get paid? Jamie,
On the
are
bright
you
side,
getting paid?
on the bright side, it didn't record at all. But we processed some of our feelings about the current billionaire space race. Good times. So on today's episode, which is starting for real for the first time just now, we are probably not going to talk that much about the space race. Maybe a little bit more. We're going to talk about EV racing. Volkswagen vans made out of Lego, and a little bit about the multiverse. With us this week, believe it or not, is in the gray, the steadfast, always here, has a name. That's right. Who we learned in the pre-show is actually a hobbit and likes his comfort zone and doesn't want to go to space.
Yep.
To one side of him in the green shirt, returning for his third appearance,
Jamie Reynolds. Nice to see everybody.
And for the first time ever, and somehow she scrambled my brain, is the lovely and talented
Barb Murphy. Hi, everybody.
Creative entrepreneur extraordinaire. So next time she may be driving this show because I quit.
Where's Graham when you need him?
If you are one of the VIPs who tuned into the pre-show, which means there's actually four of us because we were the only four people able to tune in. Aside from actually Graham and Tasia, Graham's camping and Tasia's traveling, they had the links. I kind of doubt that they actually tuned in, but because they probably have better things to do. So if you missed it, which you did, unless you're in this room here, we were talking about the billionaire space race. Richard Branson going to space recently on his Virgin Galactic, one of his Virgin Galactic spacecraft, and a little bit of exploration of the ethics of these billionaires shoveling all sorts of money into their flights of fancy, so to speak, as opposed to solving all the world's other problems. And if you want deep thoughts on that, you can check out some of the articles we're posting in the show notes, or you can contact Barb or Jamie directly. Also, we discussed whether or not we would want to be one of the early space tourists if we had lots of money to burn in the millions of dollars, like Lance Bass from NSYNC did. He did that on a Russian rocket probably 10 years or so ago.
That's right. I forgot about that.
About that.
Well, and apparently Elon Musk has booked a flight on Virgin Galactic to get him to space. So he's not doing it himself. He's taking a shot up there after Branson.
And that's kind of interesting that Elon has indeed put down a $10,000 deposit to fly with Virgin Galactic. So, I mean, that's a great way for free publicity and also demonstrating maybe a little bit of humility as well in a performative way. It's kind of cool. Like if these guys they're obviously natural competitors in a sense, but if they can be teaming up in some way, and if nothing else, maybe drawing some publicity to each other's efforts. I'm not sure if Bezos is quite there yet. He's taken his brother to space with him. But it's kind of an interesting dynamic there. And just once again proving that Elon is full of surprises. So before we move on to our other topics, do any of you have anything else to add about this billionaire space race, whether on the ethics of throwing billions of dollars at this and what the point of that might be, as opposed to solving world hunger or building more schools or what have you? Will, you didn't get a chance to chime in on that particular topic?
No, just I think that we need to take a balanced view of things in the sense that obviously, as Jamie's, nobody got to see it, but Jamie said that
it was very eloquent.
It was very eloquent, and I'm going to butcher it, Jamie, so I apologize. But
thank you, Will.
Yes. In summary, basically, these people have made their money through legitimate purposes, and they're allowed to spend it, how they see fit. At the same time, there's the old argument about space that's existed since we've been trying to go to space, which is it's a lot of money. We spend a lot of money. Could we be doing something else? But there's the other side of it, which is by going to space, by the push to go to space, and by the research we do in space, human society advances tremendously. So, I think I'm not one to judge these billionaires, and I think there is a plus side. Could we be spending money on other things? Yeah, sure. But as Jamie said, so governments are really good at spending money on solving hunger. That's happened already. I mean, so I think we need to keep this in perspective, and it's easily to pick on people online behind a keyboard and post memes without actually providing ways of being positive and how we could actually solve problems.
Well, Jamie, some people would say that these masses of wealth that these billionaires have accrued have not actually been through legitimate means. They've been through exploiting underpaid workers. What say you to that? Being a business owner yourself, what part of the ruling class?
I guess if you look at it from a certain perspective, capitalism is at its true nature exploitative, but it's all based on value. Value gets created, and so I think if people buy things, they give their labor typically to get money so they can buy other things. They can trade their labor for currency. And, it's a fairly deep philosophical argument to say that it is exploiting people. But there is an exploitative part to any sort of market economy. But again, if we want to talk about capitalism versus communism as the reverse, that gets pretty exploitative as well, just from a different perspective. So ultimately, again, this is a bit of a deep conversation for this particular program. But again, I think that if you can accrue wealth, if there's a society that allows you to do that, and you can do it by ways that people seem to be okay with, they might not like the amount of wealth that you get because not because they don't think you should have it, but they kind of think that they should have some of it. Then I think those people whoever it is, should be able to spend it just like I can spend money I have. I should be able to spend it how I like. And the actual volume of money shouldn't necessarily matter. Restrictions on capitalism, laissez-faire capitalism as it exists is maybe a bit too laissez-faire, but it's the best system that's existed. So I think to be able to use that money, harness that money, and have them spend it, as Will said, paraphrasing me, taking
the paraphrase of the paraphrase, how meta.
Exactly, taking this money and putting it towards societal benefits. I don't think you can really lose. It's going to get spent somewhere. So rather than being spent on more nefarious things, I think it's a good way to put your money, good place to put your money.
And even when you look at issues like world hunger that people seem to keep trotting out, especially in the last few days over the space race stuff, is that there is more than enough food in the world to feed everyone. It's largely a distribution problem, and a lot of the distribution gets hung up with corrupt governments in certain developing countries, where they marshal resources, they hoard resources for themselves and the insiders, which prevents a lot of the aid getting to their citizens. So I guess the question is, what are Branson, Musk, and Bezos actually supposed to do about that? I mean, send rockets to those countries?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of that one.
Can I
now,
also
Barb,
say,
go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and look, I don't know about all of Amazon's depots, and I'm just, a friend of mine who works locally at an Amazon distribution hub. He comes from a third world country, and he said it's a great job. You have to work really hard, but it's your attitude towards what they ask you to do, and it is hard work. But it's a good, steady job, and he loves his job there. Now, I'm not saying that I would love it. I'm not saying it's for everyone, but his point of view on it was it's the attitude you bring on it. It's the expectations you have. And if you understand those expectations, or are willing to work in that environment, then it's a perfect environment for you. Now, that's just saying Vancouver, Richmond. I don't know what the standards are in Illinois or Texas or some of these other things where you've heard stories about no air conditioning and people are having to work in, outrageous heat and walk around and all this kind of stuff.
That's like us right now.
Yeah, that's true.
My legs are sweating like crazy.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's other points of view. It's just that the popular point of view is that those workers are exploited. I don't know. I'm not one of those workers. I've talked to a worker who said he doesn't agree. So, I think there's other points of view on that as well.
Well, and Amazon in the U.S. actually sort of took the initiative and increased their minimum wage to $15 an hour, which is way ahead of the federal and most state governments in the United States as well. Now, one could say that that's a bit of a cynical move because a lot of their smaller competitors couldn't necessarily afford that. So you always want to be a little circumspect when large corporations, especially the behemoths like Amazon, you sort of take the initiative with those sorts of things, whether it's in favor of certain regulations or raising the bar when it comes to salaries, because those sorts of things can actually serve to put some of their competition out of business. So just like most issues, it's complicated. Now, I just want to recap a few of the innovations that have been brought to us courtesy of space travel over the decades, including cell phone camera technology, some of the sensors in there, wireless headphones, infrared ear thermometers, water purification systems, solar energy, memory foam, fitness heart rate monitors, scratch-resistant lenses, LED medical technology, dustbuster vacuums, radiant barrier insulation used in most new homes nowadays, baby formula, believe it or not, laptop computers, and arteriovision, which is a way to see inside the heart's arteries. So some of these things have been some of these innovations have come from flight and space travel research itself, and some have come from experiments conducted in the space stations, such as the International Space Station. So
you did miss one, Tristan.
Oh, well, is it real or is it an urban legend? I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
No, it's real. Tang.
I mean, I love me some Tang.
Wasn't that
Woo?
Wasn't that a marketing thing? That's
no,
for
it
real?
was invented. No, I believe it was actually invented for astronauts. The powdered orange drink that they could make in space.
Real-time. Someone can do a real-time fact check on that. Another one not on the list that I read from, and again, this might be one of these things that was invented ahead of time but used in space was Velcro.
Yes.
Yeah, or more generically known as hook and loop fasteners. Which of course be very very handy when it comes to attaching and unattaching things, when in zero gravity, for sure. Now, Barb, since we gave you the first word on this before the break, let's give you the last word on the billionaire space race. Starting with, if you had to choose between, from what you know about them, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or Richard Branson, if you had to fly on one of their spacecraft, possibly with them as your personal guide, who would you choose?
Branson.
Why? That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Interesting. Why Branson? You didn't even hesitate. I love it. Why?
He's a very innovative thinker. He's very creative. The companies that he's built and developed have been, he thinks outside the box, obviously. He approaches things very differently. He started his empire, because that's what he has, from his music career. Things, if I remember correctly, like he didn't like the way music was being distributed or something like that, so he created his own record company or music company. So it's just the way that he approaches things, thinks about things, the things he's developed. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but the way that he has presented his public persona, he seems like a person that is someone who I would like to have a conversation with, whereas I would prefer to have a conversation with him than if I had to choose from the three. So yeah.
I would, if I could choose one, I would definitely choose Bezos because he's going to actually go to space, whereas Branson almost made it to space.
Oh,
shots fired.
And
Shades
so I
thrown.
really want to go to space. So that would be my choice.
So Barb, it might interest you to know that I've actually shaken Richard Branson's hand, and I haven't washed it since. So if you want to come over sometime, it's in a bit of a state.
Here, listen, I have a
15
story
years
for you.
ago.
Well, I have a story for you. I have a friend of mine who went to Necker Island and went through his. The people that go and visit Necker Island and stay there and do like leadership development. She spent time with Richard. She's talked to Richard. She made Richard laugh.
He does have an easy smile. Where's Necker Island? I'm not familiar.
Oh, you don't know? You're not familiar with it? It's an island that he owns. I can't remember specifically where it is. Might be around Fiji or something like that. That could be wrong.
South Pacific.
Shortly after my friend was there for the regular, like this is, you have to apply to go and get accepted to be part of this program that he has there. But the hurricane, tornado, very devastating one that happened like 2-ish, 3-ish years ago happened shortly after she was there. So I'm not even sure if Necker Island is still, if it recovered from that storm because it was quite devastating. Mm-hmm. But if you Google Necker Island, it will come up. It's also for rent if you wanted to go and vacation there.
Let's go.
Good to know. I mean, when you talk about Branson's innovative thinking, and I think he comes at a lot of his enterprises from a more perhaps less of a scientific bend and more of an art, like a liberal arts sort of bend, given his start in music. But how many people have founded not only record stores and record labels and airlines? When you think of if you read about the history of the founding of Virgin Airlines, it's wild. Soft drink companies, the
mobile.
We have racing teams, mobile companies, so for cell phones, casinos, healthcare companies, festivals, hotels, video games, and media companies, and on, banks, and on and on and on. He's also got a wine company, Virgin Wines USA. So definitely a serial entrepreneur, looking for market opportunities, way that they can put their own spin on things. And to their credit, you look at Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Maybe not the same quantity, but they've each founded a number of companies on their own. And space, I think, for each of them is indeed the final frontier.
Oh, nicely done.
Moving along, maybe slightly more back to earth, is it's official. Vancouver will host the 2020 FIA Formula E the Canada Day long weekend in 2022. Electric battery race cars will be making laps around a street circuit in East Falls Creek in downtown Vancouver on part of the former footprint of the Molson Indy. Will, I think you shared this story. What are your thoughts on this Formula E? This sounds interesting.
Well, I thought it was, given that we've been talking a lot about electric cars over the last couple of weeks, I felt this was sort of a natural fit in the sense that Formula E has been kind of developing over the last couple of years. And I think this is a nice evolution. It plays right off of some of the things we were talking about in terms of with Elon Musk and the Plaid and how fast it goes. And this is adding a little bit of, I guess, legitimacy. This is almost like the real open wheel cars, but the electronic or the electric version. The other thing too is it's a Vancouverite that's interesting is that we lost the Indy about 20 years ago. And one of the reasons we lost it was because of the noise. So maybe this might actually work because they don't make much noise. Maybe we might actually get an open wheel racing back to Vancouver. So I thought it was interesting. I don't know what you guys think. I'm not a huge racing fan, but this is, again, just sort of a nice little things all come around again and evolution of cars.
Well, Barb, you live closer to downtown than any of us, I think, although you're not right in the downtown area. Would would the noise of electric cars, because they're not silent, they do have a bit of a whine to them. Well, A, would you have minded Molson Indy with like actual race cars with internal combustion engines? And B, how do you feel about said race being replaced by an electric car race?
Interesting question. Living close to the downtown core, I've lived for basically 10 years, and every summer there's so many events that you just get used to disruption. The BMO marathon, there are so many marathons that would close down streets. You just got kind of used to disruptions. I know that's very different than noise, but if it had been a case of when it was the Molson Indy, I think it would just kind of be, oh, it's here for the weekend or 3 days and it's going to be loud. In terms of this new E formula, very interesting. It's something that's new, so I think it's cool. I don't know.
Could attract some tourist interest and enthusiast interest from not only the greater Vancouver area, but perhaps beyond.
I noticed in the article it mentioned capacity of 56,000 that they would be able to accommodate for not stadium seating, but basically seating. So I thought that was interesting. That's quite a substantial amount of spectators that could partake in it. It would be interesting to see how it unfolded in the city, for sure.
So what you're saying is that you're okay with something like this, given that it's limited to a weekend and it's not going to be happening like all year round and disrupting your life. For a special event that might bring in business and tax revenue as well from all the business that happens, you're open to that?
Yes. Having not attended one, it would be interesting to get my opinion after the event.
Back in the day, I did go to a Molson Indy event. I spent the day sitting in the hot, blazing sun, watching cars zip past me, and I had no idea who was what. And I was really just there for a girl, but it was really, really loud, and it was, from what I remember, it was like an all-day event for 3 days, it seemed a little unnecessary. Again, I just don't know the sport. As most of you know, I'm a BC Lions CFL fan, so it's a bit of a different kind of sport in that regard. This does seem to solve the noise problem, and I'm assuming there's an appetite. See, this is the thing that I don't really get. I can see, there's the fireworks celebration. What's it called nowadays? Festival of Light or Celebration of Light or something like that.
I checked.
And one of those things. And that draws hundreds of thousands of people every night. And I think there are some people who complain, but it's 20 minutes a night. It's not a big deal. This probably going to be better than the Molson Indy. Just the sound was deafening if you didn't have the earplugs in, and I had earplugs in, and it was still really loud. But again, it's the appetite. Do Vancouverites, are they interested in that? But as we say, maybe it's more about bringing tourists in. Maybe it's more about bringing people to the city who are into car racing. But there doesn't seem to be much of that locally that people seem to be into. But I'm just maybe not in touch with the kids these days.
The other thing, just to add in, is and Jimmy, you make a good point about it being all day and it being several days. The Indy also brought other races. So there were other lower races that would come, and they would do them all on the same day or over the weekend, not all on the same day, but over 3 days. There'd be qualifying, plus there'd be a couple other events. Plus, if you paid enough money, if you're a rich guy with a car, you could go on there, and they had, some sort of race for people who wanted to do it. It's unclear whether they'll do all of that with this e-racing or whether there'll be other events. So it might just be, qualifying in the main race. Who knows? They're also talking about a festival. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but Vancouver has really become, before the pandemic, really got into some of these festivals, the Catalano Festival and the No Car Festival and things like this. So I think that's an interesting aspect to add, also community element. So it's not just about auto racing, and there's more for people to do, perhaps, if they're tourists coming from, outside of Vancouver, outside of the city, outside of the country, to come to this. I think it could be a nice element to it as well.
Well, I guess Vancouver has been labeled in the past as "quote unquote" no fun city because of the cancellation of things like Molson Indy. We used to, back in the 80s, maybe into the early 90s, we used to have Seafest as well. That went away, and there's been other things. Luckily, we got the 2010 Olympics, so maybe this is a little bit a bit of payback in a sense, and it's in line with the current municipal government, wanting to be the greenest city by 2020. I'm not sure if they achieved their goal.
Yeah.
Blame COVID. Blame COVID.
That's a great point too, Tristan, because it does feel like the whole no fun city thing in the late 90s, when we lost, not that I'm a big golf fan, but we lost a PGA Tour event. We lost the Molson Indy. We lost the Grizzlies. The Vancouver Canadians went from AAA to single A. There's a lot of things that left the city around the same time. And so it feels nice to get one of them back. We got one more in the win column. I know it's the E, but I don't care. We got one back.
Indeed. Well, if we don't get the opportunity to race high-powered electric vehicles around a racetrack in downtown Vancouver, perhaps we can treat ourselves to a 2,207-piece Lego kit to build our very own Volkswagen nostalgia-fueled T2 camper van. Now, I have a little this speaks to me in a personal way, because all through high school, I used to, we had this running joke between me and my friend Chris, who you all know, and that someday I was going to acquire and live in a Volkswagen van.
There's still time, Tristan.
There's still time. All it takes is for my wife to kick me out of the house and me to, us to get another 5 or 10 viewers, and then we can start monetizing if we know how to start the stream properly. And then, but the only problem is it's a little small. It's like, what is this, a Volkswagen van made for ants?
Exactly.
So I just wanted to share this with you because it is a little bit of nostalgia overload. They did have a couple other kits in the past, including a VW Beetle. It's got all sorts of little features, a pop-up camper top, sliding door, and so on. Any Lego? I know that we've got at least one Lego fan here, or someone whose kids have grown up with Lego. Let's start with you, Jamie. What do you think about these nostalgia fests?
I guess it's probably a good business decision. That's about all I can say. There's going to be people who have extra disposable income, and instead of buying something, well, they probably buy this on Amazon and give some money to Amazon and some of it to Lego. I don't know. It's a toy. It's Lego. My kids, my youngest, who is now 21, he was a big Lego fan, not so much anymore, but he's still got all the stuff. I've still got my old space Lego from when I was a kid. And it's pretty cool stuff, but it's almost like pandering. It's almost like, because you're definitely not selling this to kids. You're selling this to people who grew up in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I guess, and you're just trying to get them to buy kids' toys to make some extra money. So it's you know what? I'm just going to call it a cash grab. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call it a cash grab.
Cash grab. Oh, so cynical. It's only $180 US. So
okay, then it's a cash grab for sure.
But if you do the math, like it's 2,207 pieces divided by $180. Well, that's only that's not even 13 cents a piece, Jimmy. I think it's a bargain.
So,
go ahead,
Tristan.
Yes,
you are opening a whole can of worms. So I am not a huge Lego person myself. My wife does make some Lego. She loves puzzles. She likes Lego. She's big into Star Wars Lego. I have a friend who I think you know, his name is Zach, who is a massive Lego fan and part of a Lego community, a brick community in the Lower Mainland. And there's actually a term for, they call them adult fans of Lego, or AFOLs. So it is a whole thing. And to Jamie's point, I don't think this is for kids. This is for AFOLs. This is for adult friends of or fans of Lego. So this is a whole community that's into this kind of thing, and speaking to them just like it's speaking to you, Tristan.
Okay.
I know you're not asking my opinion, but I think it's great.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
He's still glowing.
Well,
process,
I just,
process a little negativity.
I just know it's maybe someone's birthday coming up, but it's a little much to ask. And also, I think I have a little undiagnosed ADHD, and I'm not sure if I could focus enough to build a 2,200 piece Lego set. But Barb, you have some thoughts. What does Lego mean to you, and what do you think of this particular nostalgia-fueled cash grab?
Yeah, it's not the Lego specifically. It's the opportunity for someone to purchase something to be creative with, and use their hands and build something. That's kind of my take on it. I don't have any Lego. I had minimal Lego when I was a kid, but I think the opportunity to create something that people can purchase and feel like they have a creative outlet when they maybe don't know, they can't come up with their own projects, or the community that Will was talking about, that it's a passion of theirs. I think it's great if people have the disposable income to purchase it. I don't think it's a cash grab at all. It's something that they enjoy. And when you think about the amounts of money that people will spend on their hobbies or things they enjoy doing in the time that they're not working or doing whatever they do to make income, and they may not especially enjoy what they do, and they enjoy doing hobbies or crafts or building things, I think it's great.
It's like the attainable version of sending rockets to space. It's something that
Well, to your point, Jamie, of billionaires doing what they want with their money, it's like if people have 180 USD cash to buy something that makes them happy, go to
Oh, absolutely. But I will still call it a nostalgia tax. That's what it is. It's
well, that's what happens when our generation hits a certain age and income bracket, I suppose, and bring on the cynical, nostalgic cash grabs. Now, to your point about creativity, Barb, there is something that is not in the show notes, but I just heard about today that could help one be even more creative with a set like this. Once they've done building the actual camper van, then you could take it all apart and use an app called Brickit. You could spread all your pieces out, and this app will take a photo of your pieces, and through some crazy machine learning, like Lego piece recognition, will do an inventory of your pieces with, from what I hear, it's about 95% accuracy, and suggest all sorts of other things that you can build with those pieces based on available plans that's plugged into. Check it out. The app on the App Store, iOS App Store. Is it for Android? Is the Android version coming this fall? There you go.
So, I would argue that this goes against the true beauty of Lego, because I saw my kids build stuff again, especially my youngest one, and you know what? If you want to be creative, you shouldn't have a plan. It shouldn't be like IKEA. You go buy the toy, you build it, and there it is. You can take it and you make your own thing. You become creative. You don't have somebody tell you what you should build. I think being able to create. I remember when I was a kid. I actually remember. There was a Disney show, I think it was called, a movie called Condor Man. Anybody?
I love that.
Condor Man. Okay.
I was obsessed with that. Yeah. Nobody else has heard of it. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I know. It's usually Tristan bringing this kind of garbage up.
Condor Man.
Exactly. I know, it was great. And he had this vehicle, and I think like another vehicle shot out the back of it at one point. It was an
old like gypsy truck, and then like a fancy car came out from
exactly.
Yes.
I built that out of Lego. So I built a car that fit inside of another car, and then it would pop out the back. That was a great movie. I should really watch watch that again. I should watch that again. But anyway, but I created that from scratch, and so that's where the creativity, I think, of Lego really shines. So having something that you can build, give you ideas for building stuff, I guess it's not a bad idea. But that's the true joy of Lego, being truly creative and being able to build something unique. Whereas the Volkswagen van, I think it's a bit limited. There's probably not much you can build with the Volkswagen van parts. It's very specific. Yeah.
And that's a fair point, and it speaks to the entire philosophy behind Lego as explored in the timeless classic of the Lego movie, where you could build stuff and then according to a plan, and then like glue it all together so it's in a stasis forever.
That's
or
right.
You could tear it all apart and build something else. And I think
exactly.
Whether this VW van, some people are going to build it and want to keep it perfectly on their shelf, and that's fine. Some people are maybe going to take it apart and build the van of their dreams. Maybe take two sets together and build a double-decker VW van that they really, really dreamt about in their
there you go.
youth. But with any of these Lego plans, whether it's the Volkswagen van or suggestions from Brickit, I think they can serve, depending on the personality of the Lego builder, as a jumping off point, right? It's like, wow, this is cool. I'm going to build this. Okay, now I've built this. I've kind of understand some of the mechanics behind how some of these things are put together. And now I'm going to go and build my own thing. Because like you, Jamie, I had space Lego. I had like one little set and I built the thing. But then I took it apart and built some other stuff too and combined it with other Lego that I had. Mm-hmm. And I don't know where my space Lego went.
Can I just add to that? I was the third child and I had a great childhood. But one of the things that happens when you're the third child is you get everyone's hand-me-down Lego, and it's usually not neatly put back in the box with the instructions about how to build it. It's put in a bucket, and you build whatever you feel, to Jamie's point. I didn't know how to build anything of that, what it was originally bought. I just made stuff up because nobody kept the instructions, and it wasn't kept together. So there'd be 6 sets that were jumbled together. So like a house set with flowers and a picket fence, and the space set and the cowboy set, and put something together from that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could you, if you had enough pieces of the right color, build yourself a grossly oversized goldfish?
Oh. Probably. I think you probably could.
Nice segue.
Why do you ask, Tristan?
Well, if you had a large enough room, perhaps, or a lake, because apparently this is happening. We've all heard the old trope that goldfish will grow to the size of to an appropriate size for its tank. But a lot of people don't really realize that if you let domestic goldfish out into the wild, that they would keep growing and growing and actually threaten habitats. And that's actually what is happening. Tiny goldfish being dumped in lakes are growing into giants. And people are sounding the alarms. This is why you don't dump your goldfish into lakes. Some people maybe think, I'm freeing Willie or Gilly or whatever you want to call your goldfish. My goldfish's name was Fred. Actually, when I was in grade 4, I had a goldfish and a few other fish. But Fred, he was a survival of the fittest kind of thing, and he outlasted all the others. And then every once in a while, we'd introduce another goldfish, and within a week or two, that other goldfish was gone. I'm not sure exactly where they went, but Fred continued to grow and grow as there were fewer bowl mates or tank mates, as the case may be. So the question here for each of you is, did you have goldfish or any other aquatic creatures growing up, and what sort of memories or phenomena did you experience with said sea creatures? Let's go with you, Barb.
I didn't have gold. Oh no, that's a fib. I did have goldfish, and I had Siamese fighting fish. Do you know what I mean? You put the mirror and so I had goldfish and Siamese fighting fish.
You just had one Siamese fighting fish, or did you have 2?
Nope, just had one in a mirror.
And you got a bad headache from smashing the glass all the time.
Yeah, pretty much, because that was the fun part, when they would get all defensive when they saw somebody else in the mirror. So I did not dispose of my goldfish in a natural body of water. I think they just expired naturally. So yeah.
How about you, Jamie? I know that you had a certain type of aquatic creature. I don't think it was goldfish.
We had fish at one point, I remember, but I think I was really young. They were very boring. They didn't do anything. They just swum around. So I really had no interest in them. What else did we have aquatic?
You had something as advertised on the back pages of the comic books.
Yes, I had sea monkeys.
Sea monkeys.
And they lived, and one of them swam around and had a crown on his head, literally.
Well, he was the king. There's a patriarchy.
Yeah, exactly. No, I did have sea monkeys. That's right. Good bit of useless trivia there, Tristan. I did have sea monkeys. No, we had rabbits. Yeah, and we had a crow at one point, and long story, but he became part of the family, and a turtle dove at one point. We had that, and my sister now has a bunch of animals in her house. She's got a veritable zoo there. But fish were never. I like to eat fish. That's kind of where I'm at with fish at this point.
Yeah, can you refresh
those goldfish? They might be quite tasty. Who knows?
Well, indeed. So can you refresh us as to what sea monkeys actually are? They're not necessarily a bipedal family of pot-bellied weirdos.
Well, according to the ads, they were.
I was going to say.
Yes, I was convinced that I was going to be getting this little family of creatures that looked like partly human and almost like, I don't know, Oompa Loompas or something. I don't know. But no, in the end, they were brine shrimp, if I remember correctly. So they were dehydrated brine shrimp eggs, and you put them in water, and poof, they exist. Much like mosquitoes, when a rainfall comes, all of a sudden, there's all the mosquitoes. So it's the brine shrimp, or the sea monkeys, are the mosquitoes of the water, I guess.
I think there's a movie script in there where someone lets their sea monkeys loose into the ocean, and they grow to unimaginable proportions.
They grow to the size of their environment. Yes,
exactly. Yes, Barb?
I have to tell a really quick story now that you've mentioned the sea monkeys. I always wanted sea monkeys because I read comic books all of the time, and the ads were in the comic books, and they made them look like a family, right? Yes. And I always would look at them and be like, I want sea monkeys. Never had them.
You know what else I wanted? X-ray vision glasses.
Yes. Oh, the ads were amazing in comics.
They were. I know. And the giant balloon that was like 3 meters wide or something. Anyways, got to see if I have those somewhere.
That's so awesome. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what kind of sea creatures did you let into the lake?
So when I was really young, I did have a goldfish. It passed away, unfortunately, pretty early on because it was there was one Christmas where my sister got a guinea pig, my brother got a budgie, and I got a goldfish because I was too young, but I needed to be included, I guess, in the trio of pets. But sort of sidestepping or segueing a little bit about the story about goldfish in the lake, Tristan, you might know this. My sister-in-law lives out near farmland, and she lives in there's not a lot of houses near her, and in her area, people dump cats in the woods. They just come along and dump them in the woods. And she currently has 5 cats. Not one of them was adopted. They all came to her. They all just came to their front porch, or one of them was picked up with 2 kittens and was in a ditch by her house. So it's just amazing to me that people think, and I know goldfish are a little bit different because, they're smaller animals, but wouldn't take them to the SPCA. But this attitude, and also in Richmond, there's lots of bunnies that are dumped all the time. I know that, Tristan, you went to Victoria. I'm not trying to dox you, but you lived in Victoria at one point, and they had a big bunny infestation at the university. So it's funny to me how these things aren't, why people do this. But anyway, sort of a side point, but...
Yeah, well, I guess it's better to let the cats in the ditch than in the lake.
Yeah. Well, they might eat those big goldfish, though.
Good point.
Or maybe they'll grow huge.
So just a little perspective here on some of the fish we're talking about is for size-wise. But I think most importantly, and this is where we come back to Jamie, is the origins of...
Well, this is a bit past me. This is a Pokemon, I believe, right? The Magikarp. Yeah. Indeed. So I did play a little Pokemon Go just to give it a try, but it's more my kids' level of stuff at that point. But who knows? Now, I was going to actually ask. I did read a little bit about this goldfish issue. Are goldfish a form of carp?
Indeed, they are.
They are. Okay, so I never really knew that. So when you look at them, like, oh, that's just a carp. Carp grow really big, and that actually makes complete sense then why they grow so big. But yeah, they're really causing a lot of environmental damage when they start to multiply too. And do a lot of damage to the seabed and eliminate a lot of other fish populations. So it's an issue. But again, it's people buy snakes and they let them go, and it's even the same with boaters who, when they go boating in a lake and then they take it out of the water and then they bring it home and then they put it in another lake without cleaning it, and then they transfer a lot of non-native plant invasive species into this new lake, and it's virtually impossible to get rid of. At least with goldfish, you could probably get rid of them pretty easily, couldn't you? I don't know.
Dragnet, maybe.
Yeah.
Welcome to Momentous Live, where we talk about all the hottest tech topics like football size, goldfish, and lakes.
Slow news week.
Speaking of which, we should probably think about wrapping up sometime soon. So let's move on to Will's pick of the week, a little documentary called Q, Into the Storm on HBO and here in Canada on Crave. Will, can you tell us about this?
So obviously this is a deep and rich topic. I'm a big fan of docs, so I was just watching one on Kiss and Eric Clapton yesterday. I love documentaries. The part that I thought was interesting about this and thought I'd share here is that the part I find interesting is not the Q stuff, but on how message boards work and some of the origins of 2chan and 4chan and 5chan and 8chan.
All
and
the Chans.
Things like all the Chans, Leo Chan, shouts out to Leo Chan. And also things like Anonymous and a lot of these sort of digital communities. So from my perspective, the interesting things with the origin of digital communities and how they grow. Now, obviously, this is an extreme community and there's lots of else to be said about it. But I just found learning more about the mechanics and politics of message boards beyond the politics that they share on the message boards was pretty fascinating. So I highly recommend it. It's an interesting watch. It is sort of about QAnon, but if you have any hesitation about it being pro, don't worry.
Well, with any documentary, it's always the facts presented are always skewed by the agenda of the documentarian, right?
Yeah.
So did you feel that this was even-handed?
It's somewhat even-handed. I mean, I think there's a little bit of an agenda here in the sense that I think the agenda was to find out who QAnon was or is, or the people who are QAnon. And sort of the thing that made some of the press rounds is the documentarian might have found the person or people who are QAnon. Leave that up to the viewer. But I found the journey really interesting. Certainly people who are QAnon fans would probably not love this documentary. But I would say it's balanced more of trying to understand why it came about, not necessarily judging people who believe in it.
Good pick. I'll have to check it out. Any thoughts, Barb or Jamie, have either of you seen this documentary or any other recent documentary that you think folks might enjoy?
I don't think I have seen anything. This one, it looked intriguing. Honestly, I'm a bit overtaxed with political stuff these days. Still, I kind of just want to sit down and watch a little Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and that kind of is a good way to spend my evening. But I'll probably it's good to be informed, so I'll probably give it a watch and see if it's interesting, and I'm sure it is based on your recommendation, Will.
How about you, Barb?
I enjoyed the documentary as well. I have not seen it. I'm curious to see it in the future. Like Jamie, I'm not sure I'll see it in the near future. Might wait a bit because, day-to-day news events are kind of overwhelming sometimes. So, but I do want to see it. I also have seen some trailers for a Woodstock documentary, the 1999 Woodstock, which looks very, very very interesting. The perspective they took on was not what I expected at the beginning of the trailer. So I believe it's on HBO as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing that one. Now, if you want a lighthearted 20-minute interesting documentary that is on CBC Docs, or is it CBC Docs? It's called Nude to Me. It's a documentary about the oldest naturalist club in Canada, is in North Vancouver. Something you might be interested in. It's a nice view. It's lighthearted. It's,
I think that's more Will's game than anybody.
Just a 10-minute drive from me up here.
Yeah, it's pretty close to where I live. Yeah.
So anyway,
so that's called Nude to Me.
Correct. Yes, Nude to Me.
Nude to Me. Okay.
Yeah,
check that out.
It's a fun view.
Another pick this week. Marvel's thrilling What If trailer welcomes you to the multiverse. And I think I'm going to have to throw again to our Marvel correspondent, William Silver, on this particular the trailer. Can you tell us, give us a little bit of background on What If?
Sure. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original book. I love how they're trying to bring this in to the MCU. I'm very intrigued. Basically, What If is a series of comic books originally that were sort of, taking popular Marvel storylines and then just adjusting them. So, hey, what if Professor Xavier died? Or what if Black Widow was Captain America? So just exploring different alternatives. And they have taken this idea, and people who are big MCU fans know that they've been teasing this multiverse, so different universes that all exist within this one comic reality. And so this is a way of sort of introducing that. And also, one of the great things they've been doing with Disney Plus is introducing some of these side stories, these kind of character building stories, and it sounds like some of this is going to be built into this as well. So I'm really excited. I was a huge fan of the comic books when I was a teenager, and I miss them. They don't make them anymore, the What If books. They occasionally do a bit of a redo once in a while, but they were always fun stories, just sort of. And the nice thing, they were kind of like anthology stories. Like they would just end, so it'd be one issue. You didn't have to get 75 issues to get the whole run. They weren't sort of teasing you at the end with a cliffhanger. It just explored one story. So nice sort of consumable bits. When I was on vacation, I'd like these just to buy when I was a kid, going to Newfoundland or Montreal to visit family, and just buying a couple of books like this, and I could finish them on the trip and not have to worry about getting the next issue or continuing the story somewhere. So I always love these myself.
Now, they've been Marvel has been leading up to the rollout of the multiverse for the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. Unofficially, you had Into the Spider-Verse, from Sony, but then now with the TV series Loki and the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, sort of policing and pruning the various timelines. And we're setting the stage for not only something like What If, but eventually the new Doctor Strange movie, which is that later this year or perhaps next year. I too was I was familiar with the original comic books. I had an older friend who had a number of the What If comics, so I got to enjoy some of them. And some of the stories that they're alluding to in this trailer include what if it was T'Challa was adopted by Yondu in Guardians of the Galaxy instead of Peter Quill. Things like that. What if Peggy Carter took the super serum instead of Steve Rogers? And what was her name was Captain Carter or something instead, like that. So the interesting little one-off stories. Now, Jamie, in the past, you've mentioned you're getting a little comic book burnout. What are your thoughts on this, given that they're one-off stories and also they're animated, so it's a little different touch there. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I watched the Into the Spider-Verse, and actually I quite enjoyed it. It seemed like a nice, fresh take on things, and it was entertaining. This is the thing. I really just want to be entertained. I don't really care about the movies too much. I just find sometimes with the now with the Marvel universe or with the DC universe, it's less about entertaining and it's more about just relying on the characters, and you must like these characters, and these are characters that you like, so therefore you'll come watch the movie. And that's just not where I'm at. So if there's a good movie out there that exists, or a good show that exists, I'm working through Loki right now with my wife, and we're getting into it. It's a little bit weird, but again, relatively entertaining. So again, you have to really want to watch some of these things to really enjoy them. So like Loki, if I didn't have any context for watching Loki, which is a bit of a time jumpy kind of movie, I might struggle with it, and I'm struggling with it a little bit. But again, all of these things are they're I think more for somebody like Will, who really likes the universe as a whole and just wants to see it expanded. For me, I'm just good about being entertained, so it's hard for me to just jump into something and want and feel I'm going to enjoy it just because it exists. Not saying that that's going to happen for you, Will, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Can I just jump in on two things? So first of all...
Oh, debate. Good.
No. Absolutely no debate. So first of all...
Oh, so I'm right. Okay, good.
No. You're nothing. Everyone has their own opinion. So
a snap happened and he disappeared.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Part of what I feel like is some people feel that this has to be for them. It doesn't. If people want to watch it, great. If you're not entertained by it, that's fine too. It's for some people and it's not for some people. I feel like sometimes people think because there's big blockbusters that they need to watch it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. I mean, if you go to the movie, it's $15. If you buy the digital download, it's $30. No pressure. If you like it, buy it. That's the way it works. But the other thing I wanted to share, you brought up Into the Spider-Verse. This is one of my favorite stories about a Marvel movie. I actually went with our good friend Tristan, Into the Spider-Verse. I was not feeling...
You literally went into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I went. No. Well, you'll hear the story. So I was not feeling well, but I made a commitment to my friend, and we had canceled a couple of times. And I'm just like, I'm going to do this. He picked me up. We went to the movie. I was feeling super ill. And I don't know, you've seen the movie. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on. I was so sick at the end. Tristan had to help me down the stairs. Turned out I had a brain injury and had a cerebral spinal fluid leak, and my brain was being sucked down my spinal cord. And I went and watched this movie with these crazy graphics. I couldn't feel my hand the next day. So I always think of that.
And hilarity ensued.
So
you're saying Tristan's responsible for your brain injury?
I'm saying I always think of how nice Tristan was.
Oh, I didn't get that from the story. No.
No, it was
like Yoda on Luke's back in the
Tristan.
In the forest. Yeah, that was quite the time.
Quite the time in my life, yes.
Thankfully, you've mostly recovered from that.
Have I?
No one truly recovers. Barb, you mentioned earlier that you read a lot of comics growing up. Where are you at now with the state of comic book movies? And do you have any interest in this series coming up?
Well, a couple things. So the comics that I read were Archie comics.
Me too. Richie Rich too.
Oh yes, and Richie Rich. Yeah. So my knowledge of the Marvel comics in series is very minimal. But like Jamie, I like to be entertained, and I like blockbuster movies. I like action movies. So I've seen a couple of the Marvel movies. I don't see them. They've been chosen randomly because, like I said, my knowledge of the whole universe and characters specifically is pretty minimal. But I like a good visual. I'm a visual person, so I just love to see the effects. If I miss something in the story just because I don't have the backstory of all the characters, it doesn't really bother me because I just like the visual eye candy of going to the big blockbuster special effects movies. So Archie comics to blockbuster movies. That's
I'm waiting for
Jamie
the
mentioned
expanded universe of Casper and Archie and Sabrina.
Well, Jamie mentioned Richie Rich, and in a way, he was kind of the Tony Stark of that.
He really
universe.
was, or the Batman, the Bruce Wayne. He was kind of a bit of a Bruce Wayne because he had the butler. He had the butler as well.
Yes.
That would, the whole thing. So maybe he was young Bruce Wayne.
Have you heard the whole theory about Casper being a dead Richie Rich?
Do tell.
That's getting too
Well,
dark.
just that they look very
man.
similar. People, conspiracy theories. It's like it's the same guy.
People have too much time on their hands.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in his hot stuff, Richie Rich after he went to hell, because he kind of looks the same.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
That's right.
It's a whole expanded universe.
Yeah. Huh. Fascinating one. But to your point, Barb, about the being entertained and the effects and all the visual thing, I like that too. But I need the story. Like I really struggled with Captain Marvel, for instance. That story just did not grip me very well, and maybe some of the character development didn't grip me. But again, it was visually it was striking. It was pandering to me almost by being set in the 90s or 80s. 90s, which is kind of around my youthful time.
Dude, she had a 9 Inch Nails shirt on. It was super cool.
Oh, right, exactly. So but again, I can watch the original Iron Man again and again and again. Like I like that one quite a bit. So maybe it's because I hate women. I don't know. It's a joke. That was a joke for the interwebs out there. I found I just found it was not I need the story to be engaging. So so everybody goes to the movies for different things. And just like Barb and myself and Will and Tristan, we all have different things that we like. Tristan, I know you're a big screen fan. You love just going to see whatever garbage you can see on the big screen, right?
All the garbage.
All the garbage all the time. Wonder Woman 84. Oh, again, another female-led movie. Look at that.
Unfortunately, I did not see that on the big screen. It may have actually.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I thought you were going to go see it in the big screen. It would have been much better on the big screen.
It didn't happen. Barb, if you need to catch up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we can point you to an unofficial cut of the Infinity Saga, 236 gigabytes, 22 movies spliced together in chronological order, scene by scene. It's only about 49 hours. So
okay.
Before the pandemic ends, I think you should pencil that into your schedule.
Tristan's literally watched it that way.
Really?
He's watched it.
At my wife's request, to be clear.
I wouldn't
She wants to
decline.
watch it again.
I'd give it a go. I'd have to take some breaks in there, obviously.
Tristan took no breaks.
He's going to crash your hard drive.
Yeah, honestly, that's the big challenge: is the data management. Like actually managing a file that size and getting it onto media that and then streaming it to the if you want to stream it to your TV, like just it's not as simple as it may seem, but it was well worth it.
Good to hear.
So as we approach the end of episode 19, Momentous Live, Barb, why don't you tell us a little bit about your current project that I am pulling up on the screen right now? You have a website with all sorts of fun things.
I do. I can't actually see what you have up, but I'm assuming you have FreshRhubarb.com.
Indeed, I do.
FreshRhubarb.com is a brand that I developed to... it's what I consider a project, and I dislike using that term. I don't, but it's the best way to describe it. It's just inspiring people to be creative in their lives. Back to the whole Lego being creative. So that sums it up. That's a very simple explanation of it. And part of that is I have a online store where right now I'm designing. T-shirt art. I'm not designing the T-shirts, but they're inspiring and kind themed art on T-shirts. It's text art. It's not illustrations or anything like that. So it's just words on T-shirt, not just. They're fabulous, encouraging, kind words on T-shirts. My online store, shopfreshrhubarb.com. So that's my latest project.
Love it. Is anything else you want to tease for the future, or is that everything? Future projects still under wraps? There's some projects coming up that are under wraps, and plus a little revamp of my online store. So check back often for the updates. And you do consulting as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your consulting business?
Creative project management is my primary role that I'm doing right now. I'm working on project management within marketing communications. It's creative project management. That's what I'm focusing on, working with clients, developing websites, email funnel management, and strategy for that. So yeah, it's a variety of projects that I'm working on within marketing communications.
Very cool. So we can find out about your t-shirts at shopfreshrhubarb.com. Some great stuff there, including Introvert and Keep Being Awesome. You are awesome, Barb, and we appreciate you joining us today. Before we let our audience of 3 or 4 people go, let's just want to give a shout out to Tasia. She added another video this past week. Top 10 Safari settings to change for a better browsing experience for those folks out there on a Mac. Of course, you can. There's Firefox and Chrome and Microsoft Edge available, but some people like to use Safari, which hooks in nicely with iCloud to sync your bookmarks and history and all that sort of stuff, just like Chrome and Firefox and Edge do within their own ecosystems. But for the Safari Mac users out there, Tasia does a whole rundown in her latest YouTube video, which you can access at youtube.com/Tasia Custodi. So this link, Barb's shop, and all the other story links will be available in the show notes for this very video. And if you want to learn more about Momentous, you can find us at momentous.tv, twitter.com/momentous.tv, facebook.com/momentous.tv, instagram.com/momentous.tv. If you want to find us on YouTube, maybe search my name, and then you can find a playlist there, because it's kind of hard to find us still because we're just a little. I want to give a very special thanks to the indomitable Will Silver, the incomparable Jamie Reynolds, and how should we describe you, Barb? The unrivaled, the unconquerable, the the super awesome introvert. Are you an introvert? Yes. Is that why you made that shirt?
Just call me an introvert. That's fine. I appreciate the invite to be on the show. It was a wonderful experience.
It was wonderful having you, and we'll see you all next week. I gotta hit the right button. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, here it comes. Hold on. Hold that thought. It's coming any second.